Hi, everybody. I wanted to say hello. We are about halfway through the week, and so we're going to finish up the water cycle today and tomorrow. We have spent the last about two and a half. This is the end of our 3 weeks of doing online learning at home. It's crazy that it's been that long, and I'm super proud of you guys. I've just talked with other teachers on different teams about their students, and how their students are doing, and we constantly are hearing that the nights students are turning their work in, and you guys have been turning in your work for me. And I'm just really proud of you because I know it's hard being at home and not getting to see all your friends. And sometimes the weather's crummy and it makes you feel like sleeping, and sometimes the weather's beautiful and it makes you want to be outside. And so just know that today's assignment, I'm going to walk you through it. It's really easy. But you're going to have today and tomorrow to do it. And if you need time into the weekend, you can certainly have that time. And remember, Mondays are no longer lesson days, those are catch up days. So if you need to take even into Monday to work on this, you need a third day, or you need to meet with maybe. You need to meet with me, you want to email me, or ask me some questions, or maybe you need to meet with your special education teacher to help you get some of this done. You have time, so I don't want you to feel overwhelmed. And so today I'm going to teach you how to do the final kind of small project for the water cycle, and then I'll give you today and tomorrow to complete it. So basically, I have on the screen, this is the name of the project. The project is called Project NOAA. Now, if we were in class, the project would have been a little bit bigger, a little bit more fun, but because we're at home, I just wanted to make it really simple. So just understand that I simplified this project. So it's not really a project, it's more of an assignment, but I wanted to keep the name. The name NOAA, some people think refers to the historical figure Noah, but it's not spelled the same, but it kind of has the same idea because Noah, the historical figure written about in the Old Testament of the Bible, is had to do with the flood. And many cultures, if you come from a culture that is non-Western, so an Eastern culture, there are floods in many cultures, including even Native American cultures. There's stories of the flood and things like that. So this isn't that character, but it does have to do with water, and that's kind of how it got its name in a sense. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. So I went ahead and put, this is the big organization, the administration that looks at the oceans and the weather, and we're going to look at the water cycle, and a lot of this information came from this website, and I put the website down here in case you'd like to look. It has really cool stuff if you're interested in water and weather and oceans and air. It's a really great website. So when you go into Canvas, this is what comes up if you want to click on the link for this project, Project NOAA, or if it's not opening up and working well for you, you can find it in the file. So I'm going to scroll down. I believe that you watched this video yesterday, so you don't need to watch this video again, but if you wanted to watch it again to refresh your memory, you're welcome to click on this video. Here is your task for Project NOAA. It looks like a lot of things, but actually, these are all things that you know about. You know all of these things. Nothing on here should be new. It's all things that we've already learned. So what you're going to be doing is you're going to be making a visual model. A visual model means that you're going to make it visual so we can actually see it. So we can either draw it, we can type it, we can label it, but we want to be able to see it. And the word model means a smaller representation of something that is bigger. So I don't really think I can go to the ocean right now. So what I'm going to do is draw a model. I'm going to draw a picture of something that is real and large in real life. So what I'm going to do is draw a picture or do something on my device, something digital to represent what I've learned about the water cycle. So here are the things that you're going to check off that are in your picture. And remember, all of these things, especially if I've underlined them, need to be somewhere in your model. Remember, that's a picture or a digital portrayal or some kind of diagram or some kind of graphic. It needs to be something that we can look at that's not necessarily colorful, but it could be colorful, but something that we can actually see and understand through a picture, through some kind of representation. So if these things are underlined, these are going to be our key vocabulary that we've already learned in this unit. And these are things that need to be labeled. Labeled is extremely important. If I don't see a label on it, I don't really know what I'm looking at, and I don't know if you just happened to draw it or if you meant to draw it. So please make sure that they're labeled. So I'm going to go through each of these very quickly and show you a couple of quick examples, and then I'm going to let you get started. So you're going to describe, that means draw somehow in your model, solar energy from the sun warming up the earth. Okay, so that means you need to put a sun in your picture. If there's no sun in your picture, it's wrong. You got to have the sun. It's not scientifically accurate. Number one, the sun hasn't disappeared. Number two, the water cycle begins because of solar energy or sun energy. So you have to have a sun. Then you need to have some evaporation going on in your drawing. So this is where we are here. We're in evaporation, okay? So you need to have some evaporation. So you need to have some water that's on the earth, either in the ocean, in a river, in a lake, in a puddle, somewhere on the ground of the surface of the earth. And you need to show that it's evaporating. So you can draw arrows, you can draw little molecules spreading apart. You need to show that that water is getting heated up and moving into the air into a gas form. Next, describe how water vapor in the atmosphere cools and condenses to form clouds. So you have air up in the sky. Now, we don't always have clouds. So you can't say that we always have clouds, because we don't. There are many days where we don't have clouds. There are many days where clouds are not around. But sometimes there are clouds, and that's because those water vapor molecules are getting cold and they're starting to clump together into liquid drops. So you might want to show some air molecules clumping together, forming liquid drops, forming clouds. You can use arrows and labels. Number three, how precipitation might fall in different forms. So sometimes it can fall in the form of snow. Sometimes it can fall in the form of just regular rain. Sometimes it's freezing rain or sleet, and we learned about those. We actually had a little bit of that a couple of days ago. We had, I was looking outside and I saw these ice chunks, kind of these little pellets, and I thought, ooh, is that freezing rain or is that sleet? And I remember that that has to do with sleet because they're little pellets of ice that are falling down. So you might want to show a couple of different ways that rain can fall. Number four, describe how gravity's pull causes water on higher land to move downhill. Okay, water doesn't usually flow uphill. I know there's a few extreme examples around the world of water flowing in a different direction, but most of the time water flows downward. So you're not going to have ocean water flowing up to the mountains. It's not going to happen. It's going against gravity, okay? So gravity flows downward. So you might want to show some rivers or some streams or something flowing downwards, okay? Either to the ocean, to a lake, to a river, to a puddle, somewhere going downward. Now, describe how water might flow to a river because of the ridges of land called a watershed. We learned about a watershed. A watershed is a little confusing because the term watershed is confusing, but watershed just means that you have land that some is high up, like hills, and then some is lower, like valleys. So you have hills and you have valleys. When water falls on a hill, it's going to flow downward into that valley, okay? That's like a watershed, meaning water is always going to puddle up when it is lower ground. When it's higher ground, the water won't usually stay up high. It'll usually start flowing downward. So we need to see some hills or some ridges or some land that's higher up, and water needs to flow down and kind of make a puddle. That's kind of like a watershed. Next one, describe how some liquid and solid water remains on the land in the form of different bodies of water. So we need to see some puddles. We need to maybe see a lake, maybe a river, maybe an ocean. We need to see not just an ocean. We need to see something else. We need to see puddles, or we need to see a river into a lake, or we need to see an ocean, but then there's also some freshwater rivers nearby. We need to see more than just an ocean in your picture. That's what that means. Different bodies of water. You don't have to do all of these, but different bodies of water need to be in your picture. Describe how some water is consumed by organisms. So we need to see some plants in your picture, some animals in your picture, and some people in your picture. Please make sure that all your drawings are appropriate. We need to see plants, animals, and people drinking the water. Okay, so plants drink up water through their roots. Animals drink it through their mouth. People drink it usually from a cup, something like that, a glass. And so we need to see people, animals, and plants all consuming water because that's a part of the water cycle as well. Describe how some water is released into the ground when an organism, like a plant or an animal, dies and decomposes. So when specifically a plant or an animal dies, like a plant dies or an animal dies, and we see, like maybe you're driving on the road and you see that plant or animal on the side of the road, that plant or animal has water in its body. And that water either will evaporate or it will be, as it says here, released into the ground. It starts decomposing, that water goes back into the ground. And so please, again, make an appropriate picture. You can draw a dead plant or a dead animal, but we need to see something that's dead in your picture that is school appropriate, not ridiculous and gruesome, but we do need to see that that water is going into the ground to become groundwater. Okay, that's what we call groundwater. Describe how water is released from plant leaves in a process called transpiration. We learned that earlier this week. I hope you guys had fun doing that. Transpiration is when the leaves get too warm in the summer. It's so sunny, the plants, we wonder why the plants don't get overheated and start drying out. They seem to be fine. That's because they sweat. They let water out of their leaves into the air to cool them down, just like people sweat. We just don't call it plant sweat. We call it something else. We call it transpiration. And the last one, describe how water sinks into the ground as groundwater or aquifers. So underneath your picture, don't draw it too close to the bottom of the page because underneath the ground level of your picture, you should have some groundwater. You should have some water that went into the ground and soaked up and is staying under the ground. And an aquifer is just water that's under the ground in a certain area, and that's why we dig wells. That's why other countries dig wells and have water systems under the ground because there's groundwater under there and they get held in an aquifer down underground. So you need to have water that's underground. Okay, so let me show you a quick example. This is an example. This is not a perfect example because not everything that I'm requiring you to have in a picture is in this example. So please don't just copy this. It would be incorrect for what I'm asking for you to show that we've learned from our specific unit. But I wanted to show you, look at all these rivers here, and then there's obviously groundwater going into the ground, and then they have a key. This here, this light blue is all groundwater. I thought that was a really cool way to show that. Then you have ocean water, which is a different color because ocean water is salty. River water up here or stream water is fresh water, so it's a darker blue. I thought that was really, really cool. You have plant transpiration, of course, but there's things that are not on this model. I don't see any people or animals. I don't see anything dead in this picture, and so there's a few things. There's precipitation to land, but they didn't tell us what type. I just see rain. I don't see an example of maybe ice crystals up here or even snow up here. I don't see any sleet coming down or freezing rain. So this is an incomplete picture from what I'm asking. But I do like things like this. These arrows are showing gravity's pull. You can see everything is flowing downward. You're not going to see this ocean water flowing to the top of the mountain. Okay, it's just not going to happen. Gravity pulls downward. And so I really like this example, and I hope that this is a great way for you to think about how you might draw yours. But of course, be creative. You can do yours in a city. You don't have to have an ocean. You can draw yours, you can draw your own neighborhood, and there might be, I live near Penguin Park, and there's a little teeny tiny little lake near mine, and I'm going to draw that. So this is the one that I drew last year as my example. I know it's not the best example, but I have a highway system, and I have a sun setting, and I have a factory on this side, and I have a neighborhood on this side, and I have a dead animal here. I have people who are sweating, and that sweat is evaporating. I have transpiration going on here. I have a sink, and so there is pipes underground getting groundwater from underground. I have a swimming pool where water is evaporating out of the swimming pool. I have that it is coming down as rain, but it's hitting the ground at a very freezing temperature, and so it's becoming ice once it touches the ground. So there's freezing rain, but there's also just regular rain. And so I wanted to show you, I have gravity pulling all of the water towards the under the highway, because under the highway is like a little pool of water. And so that represents my watershed. And so I just wanted to show you, this is my example. This is a student's example from last year. And so neatness is going to be super helpful so that we can read everything and you can see everything. Super, super detailed drawing, and so I really, really liked this student's. This is another example. If you wanted to add text boxes, you're welcome to do that. I'm not going to require that for you guys, but this is another example of how you could draw your picture. And you could do a key. So for this one, there's a key. You could put numbers in your drawing instead of labels, and then in text boxes, you could put what it is you were drawing. And then this is the rubric that I'll be using for the grade for complete or incomplete. Did you have a full understanding of the drawing, and did you get everything in the drawing? Did you have the proper vocabulary words labeled in the drawing? Did you get everything in there with few grammar errors? So is spelling as close as you can get? You fully laid it out. We could see everything in nice writing. And then down here, is the drawing neat? Can I read it? Is it easy to follow your arrows and your labels? You don't have to make it colorful unless you want to. I'm not going to take off any points for that. So while you're working today and as we finish up this lesson, you need to be on this page. So the best way I can recommend to do this is to open up this page, or even leave this part of the video up and pause the video. You need to be on this page, and all you need to do is start drawing these things in your picture. That's all you need to do. Then when you're ready to submit, I'm going to have you submit it as an assignment instead of emailing it to me. You're going to submit it as an assignment so that I can look at your picture. Please make sure your picture is close enough that I can see it. Please make sure that it's not sideways when you send it. Please make sure that it's neat and it's your best writing. I'm going to be really disappointed if I see papers turned in that look like you slapped it on the page in 2 seconds. It should be something that should take you about 10 to 15 minutes to do, because you're trying to be thoughtful about your drawings. I know not everybody is an artist, but you can tell I'm not really an artist, and this is my drawing and it looks like I actually did work. And so I don't want your drawing to be sloppy and lazy. You can tell that this person, this student, put work in, and they have all of their labels everywhere. All of their arrows are there, and so try to make it as neat and organized as you can using these as an example. I'm going to be using this checklist to go through and find all of the things in your picture by using this checklist. So I would highly recommend that you check off here, 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 here as you go along, and when you have all of these things checked off, looking at it, putting your name on it, making sure it's nice and neat, it's dark enough for me to read it, go ahead and submit it to the assignments, and then you're done. So you have today and tomorrow to work on this project. The project is called Project NOAA, and always feel free to go back and watch this link if you need another refresher or more ideas for your model. I hope you guys have a great time working on it, and then next week we're going to jump in and study a little bit more about the atmosphere, which is what's going on above the water that's on the ground. We know that evaporation is happening, condensation is happening, precipitation is happening, but there's other things happening like wind and air pressure. There's other things going on that affects weather and that affects water. So we're going to look at that next week. So please let me know if you have any questions. You have today and tomorrow to work on this project. I'll be grading it probably on Monday, putting it in for a grade, and then we will pick up with a new standard next week. We're going to move out of the water cycle and into the atmosphere next week. Hope you guys have a great time with this project, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye.